The truth is, building a good plane and build a plane used to feel kind of intimidating. Especially if you were new or broke. You'd spawn in, see all these insane flying machines zipping past you, and just assume you needed hours of grinding or a bunch of cash to even stand a chance. But here's the twist. You actually don't. After spending way too many late nights testing every possible build, I realized that there's a ridiculously simple formula that works. It doesn't matter if you've unlocked every part in the game, or you're still stuck with the basic wings and propellers. If you follow the right principles, you can build something fast, controllable, and good enough to start farming money and breaking distance records in no time. So if you're tired of crashing early or barely earning anything, smash that like button, maybe hit subscribe too, and let's get right into the actual good stuff.
Nice.
Let's break down the key concepts and explain everything from the basics so even beginners can follow along. First of all, there's a common misconception many new players have when they start building. That the way you position parts, like wings, propellers, or fuel tanks, matters. The truth is, placement doesn't matter at all when it comes to flight performance. What really matters is how many of those parts you use. It doesn't matter where you place your propellers or what shape your plane is. What affects how far or fast your plane can fly depends solely on how many wings, propellers, or fuel tanks you put in. That said, there's one aspect of design that does make a huge difference: the width of your plane. Try to keep your plane as narrow as possible. A thin build helps your plane slip through tight gaps between obstacles and terrain features. This becomes especially important at high speeds, when you don't have much time to react. A thinner build can help you survive longer and avoid crashing into walls, spikes, or structures. When it comes to actually building, you only need to focus on 3 core parts: wings, propellers, and fuel tanks. These are the building blocks of any successful plane. Don't worry about fancy decorations or unnecessary blocks. Those will just weigh your plane down and waste your money. The entire gameplay loop revolves around optimizing those 3 elements. And this guide will break them all down so you can understand exactly how they work and how to use them effectively. Let's start with wings. In the early game, wings are the most important part of your build. Their main function is to keep your plane airborne longer and to give you more control while flying. The more wings you have, the more time your plane can glide, especially after your fuel runs out. Wings also help your plane stabilize and turn more effectively. However, there's something important to note here. Once you've stacked about 7 to 8 better wings, adding more doesn't really help much. You'll hit a point of diminishing returns where extra wings don't provide any noticeable improvement. So don't waste your money stacking dozens of wings. Beyond a certain point, it just doesn't make a difference. Next, let's talk about propellers. These are arguably the most important part when it comes to making money in the game. Propellers increase the speed of your plane, and unlike wings, their effectiveness does not have a cap. The more propellers you add, the faster your plane becomes. And faster planes mean more distance covered in less time, which means more cash. For example, one regular propeller increases your speed by about 34 studs per second, while one better propeller increases your speed by about 54 studs per second. This scales indefinitely, so stacking propellers is the fastest way to maximize your money-making potential. But of course, speed comes at a price. The faster your plane goes, the harder it is to control. Once your plane hits around 1,000 studs per second, you'll start to notice that it becomes more sensitive and harder to maneuver. If you push it to 2,000 studs per second or more, you may find that the game can't even load terrain fast enough to keep up with your plane, and dodging obstacles becomes almost impossible. That's why it's crucial to find the balance between speed and control. If you want to earn money quickly, you'll need to stack lots of propellers, but only if you're confident in your ability to handle the increased speed. Fuel tanks are the third major component, and they're key to setting high records. While propellers help you get cash quickly, fuel tanks help you fly farther. Just like propellers, fuel tanks can be stacked infinitely. The more you have, the farther your plane can travel. There's no upper limit, so if your goal is to push distance records or complete long missions, fuel is what you need. The best strategy is to use a combination of both. Enough propellers to get decent speed, and enough fuel tanks to keep your plane going. In addition to the main 3 components, there are a few optional parts worth mentioning. The first is the rocket booster. These boosters temporarily give your plane a major speed boost. Unlike propellers, stacking more boosters doesn't increase the boost speed, it just increases the duration of the boost. To get the most out of boosters, don't activate them randomly. You should wait until your plane is already moving fast and you have a straight, obstacle-free stretch ahead. Good spots for this include areas like the cannon zone or broken fortresses, where there are fewer obstacles and you can maximize your boost distance. The next optional component is the balloon deployer. This device automatically attaches balloons to your plane when you run out of fuel. It's particularly useful toward the end of your flight when you've already burned through all your fuel but still want to squeeze out some extra distance. With a balloon deployer, your plane will slowly descend instead of crashing, giving you more time to glide and increasing your chances of hitting a higher record. Let's talk building strategy. To save both space and money, it's best to attach wings, propellers, and fuel tanks directly to each other instead of using regular blocks. There's no need to build a full fuselage or structure to house your components. In this game, a floating engine with wings works just as well, and in fact, often performs better than a traditional plane design. Direct attachment reduces weight, size, and cost while keeping performance high. A good trick to save horizontal space is to stack your wings in a vertical line behind the pilot's seat instead of spreading them out to the sides. This lets you keep your plane narrow and avoids collisions with walls and pillars. It may look strange, but it works. The game doesn't care about realistic aerodynamics, so you're free to focus entirely on performance. If you follow these principles, you'll quickly realize that there's no single best design. It all depends on your goals. If you're trying to grind cash, you'll want a lightweight, fast plane with a ton of propellers. If you're trying to break distance records, you'll need a lot of fuel and maybe some boosters or balloons. But no matter what kind of build you're going for, as long as you understand the roles of wings, propellers, and fuel, you'll be able to create something that works. Of course, flying skills also matter. Even the best-built plane won't get far if you can't control it. Speed makes planes harder to steer, and terrain gets more dangerous the farther you go. Practice makes perfect. Once you get used to the speed and know where to use your boosts, you'll be able to survive longer runs and consistently earn more money. To wrap it all up, here's the takeaway. Building a good plane in this game is all about understanding the core components and how they affect your performance. Wings help you glide and steer. Propellers give you speed and income. Fuel extends your distance, and boosters and balloons give you special advantages when used correctly. Focus on these elements. Ignore unnecessary blocks and build with efficiency in mind. Even with no money, you can build a powerful plane if you're smart about your parts. And if you stick to these tips, every build you make will be viable, as long as you've got the skill to fly it. Good luck and have fun flying.